dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with a good one. Yes, let me try that again. Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with a Good Morning Portugal show live stream and podcast. And as you can hear, I'm a little worse for wear. I could make up a story about having man flu, and it's been an exhausting weekend. And I must have picked something up. I think the problem is the thing that I picked up most was a glass of alcohol over this weekend. Kids, not that I'm recommending that. It was done in an entirely responsible and convivial way. What a weekend it has been. Wow, what a weekend. Thank you to each and every Gumper friend who came to the Discovery Weekend in San Martino de Porto this weekend. It was superb. And I was still enjoying it until I don't know, 1:30 or so this morning. So it's been quite an effort to get myself together this morning. But enough about that. I don't want to sound like some kind of lush. It's bad enough sounding like some kind of lush. So I'll get on with the show, and I'm going to work backwards. James will be joining us, of course, at 9 from Ericeira. He was here with us. Too many people at the moment to name check as a long list of people who I was delighted to see over the weekend. Many people came to San Martino de Porto this weekend. The filming is wonderful. There were so many wonderful, memorable moments this weekend. So thank you to everybody who came and who was part of that. And yeah, I'll work backwards. I'll show you some video of parts of the last night. I'll show you a video of last night because I chanced upon this is quite amazing. I chanced upon or went into a cocktail bar that hasn't been opened in the last couple of years that we've been here in San Martino de Porto. I was well aware of it, but it wasn't until last night that the chance presented itself to pop into this wonderful establishment. So let me start there. I need to make a special thank you to all the restaurateurs, hostelry owners who have mixed feelings towards me, I think, this morning. There's that guy who turns up with 20 people, with 40 people, and doesn't make reservations. So I am so sorry to have done that. I just wasn't expecting so many people to be here. I thought we'd have a lovely time this weekend, but I wasn't expecting quite so many people to be here and would want to be at each of the moments where we could come together and eat food together. So I will say an individual thank you and show my appreciation to each of the wonderful establishments that sorted us out over the weekend with wonderful food and drink. And I work backwards, as I said. This is, we'll come back and say a few hellos in a moment. Actually, let me just do that first to make sure everyone is welcome this morning. Morning, T-Duck. Smash that like button. I'll make a gentle gesture towards the like button, if I may. No loud noises for me here this morning. Andy, good morning to you. Well played, sir. An incredible job, Andy. Maybe I can find a little bit of video of him being fed by Bobby O'Reilly in the kitchen. A cracking job. And Michael, who stepped in as Michael stepped in as soon as he heard he had the chance to hold Andy's boom pole. He was right there. Dougie Hughes is also in this morning. We've got a 2-minute taster from Doug. Mr. S, Coach Turner, are you still in Madeira? I think you are still over there. God Squad, tip of the day from you. And James, of course, already here in the chat. And Tig James, post-Brexit Brit update from Tig James at 9:30, talking about health centres and reunification, her news. And we'll find out how she's adjusting to... Oh, ring... Ouch. Oh, stop it. Yeah. We'll find out how it is for the post-Brexit Brits who are adjusting. And dealing with life now that Seth has been extinguished, of course, as we know, and that's why it's saying on the screen, ready, fire, AIMA, because that seems to be the order in which things are being done. But they've hit the ground running, and we'll see what Tig has to say about that with the transition from Seth to AIMA this morning. Let me please play some video now. Okay. Well, this is an extraordinary situation. I'm in my own town and going into a cocktail bar that I've only seen closed until now. And this is Casa do Lem, which I found out from the owner here, has been closed for the last 3 years because of COVID, and he's just reopened. So we're going in. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Cocktail bar in San Martinho de Porto. And who's this sat at the bar? Who sat at the bar in the cocktail bar? Johnny Cocktail, of course. Good evening. Fancy seeing you here.
Where else would I be?
And it's lovely and warm in here. And there is something here. I think this is a boozometer or something like that, this machine.
We're going to make it go higher.
Okay, whatever happens, we're going to make it go higher. Faster, higher. And this is a beautiful bar here. Look at this. Is this amazing? And the owner, he says he's been here 14 years, so he must have started when he was about 5?
Maybe 6.
Maybe 6. It's an incredible place. Look at these beautiful, just incredible, I don't know, what are they? Paraphernalia, cocktail paraphernalia. A foghorn. Incredible lighting. Lovely nooks and crannies. Oh, a sound system as well. This looks like it might be the place to do our soul and jazz club, right? Through the portholes into another room through there. You think you know San Martinho de Porto, and then you discover a new place, a new experience here with these incredible devices and all manner of things in here. T-Duck, you're going to love it when I bring you here. Obligatory TV. And a Portuguese billiard snooker table. What is different about this table? What is it about this table that's somewhat odd? What? No pockets? Right, we're getting 2 daiquiris mixed up here. So I'm going to go back and join Johnny Cocktail now. Oh, is this the Bee Gees in a little porthole here? Look at this for you, Mrs. M. One of our favourites. It's the Bee Gees in there and Too Much Heaven. Superb. And a 3D ship here. You thought that was a painting, and then you realise it's in relief. It's actually a model. This is incredible. Right, there's the red light then to stop filming and to come back and join Johnny Cocktail for our daiquiri here. Oh, and here's our owner here. Olá, boa noite.
Boa noite.
Look at this, perfect. Sorry, I didn't catch your name before. ¿Cómo se llama? Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Rodrigo, muito prazer. Here we go, our daiquiris are coming up. So I'm going to stop filming and get ready to drink. Have a great evening, have a good morning or a good evening wherever you are watching this tonight, and maybe see you in here at some point. Whoa. So good question, T-Duck. And Ian Turner, Coach Turner knows people who are like that pool table. So that's what you can say to people who you find maybe a little bit stingy. You can say, you're like a French billiard table. That's what it was, French billiards, apparently. A 3-ball game. Who doesn't like a 3-ball game first thing in the morning? And I think Johnny Cocktail actually said, I don't know if he was winding the barman up. He was saying, what I like is a good game of pocket billiards. I looked at him, he said, are you sure? He said, oh, yeah. And he seems to be in all seriousness. But that was when he'd had, I think, a Beirão for the first time. I've captured that moment too. I'll come back and tell you in just a moment, T-Duck, where that is. I mean, it's right under your nose. It's so Portuguese that there it was all the time. Scooby-Doo mystery. Not run by the janitor, but Rodrigo, what a fabulous fellow. I had a lovely chat with him. But this is Johnny Cocktail trying Beirão for the first time. That isn't Johnny Cocktail trying Beirão for the first time. I think I might have I'll tell you why that wasn't Johnny Cocktail trying Beirão for the first time, which I thought I had got on video. Maybe I didn't. I don't know what that video was. I don't even remember taking that. And the reason why is that we started like this. We had a daiquiri. I've never had a daiquiri before. There was a daiquiri morango and a straight up regular daiquiri, as I understand it. And there it was, and very delicious it was too. And then there was this, a Negroni, and with Rodrigo mixing up behind the glass there, a Negroni. And then there was this, a Maricão, which I've never experienced before. I haven't had any of these cocktails before, actually. And what's this? I don't remember that picture either. When did that happen? Okay, a Maricão is a ginger with tonic and lime over a lot of ice. That was delicious as well. So as you can see, I mean, this is where it is, T Duck. This is the door. You might have seen that, but it is so beautifully and brilliantly hidden, as you might expect in a kind of speaky prohibition vibe cocktail bar. And it's right there under your nose in the main square of it's not a square because it's not a square in shape, but I think people will know what I mean when I talk about the square of San Martino de Porto, opposite Concha Hotel, where some of our guests over the weekend stayed, and opposite Sama, and just around the corner from the tourism office, and on the little lane. So this hotel, this cocktail bar is part of the Hotel Albugaria, which you also might have seen on the little lane between Samar or near Samar that goes through to the beach. What an incredible weekend. I'll show you a few more other highlights, if I may, just for a moment. I don't want to bang on too much about it, because otherwise it just sounds like an in-joke that I keep going on about. But it'd be wrong not to say anything at all about this wonderful weekend and how superb it was to be there in San Martino de Porto with so many wonderful friends this weekend. And some notable exceptions as well. So get you next time, I hope, for those of you who weren't able to make it this time. And here we go. This is Sanjay in the kitchen. I ended up doing some filming. Okay, I was working backwards, wasn't I, from Sunday, where we were at the cocktail bar. Johnny Cocktail and I were, of course, in the cocktail bar. Tried the Concha bar as well for the first time, and some nice whiskey. Oh, my goodness, it's all coming back to me now. What did we do on Sunday afternoon? A bit of a not a meet and greet, but a meet and buy, a meet and depart. It was lovely to have a brunchy thing going on at Samar. We didn't go too far from where everybody was staying because the weather was pretty awful. It has to be said. And the walk got cancelled. Anna was going to do a walk. Anna's still here, of course, lives in San Martino de Porto and is doing the immersion experience at Baia Cultural, who looked after us beautifully on Friday night. But Saturday night was Samar, and then late into the evening at the Gatsby Bar, the other cocktail bar in San Martino de Porto. And filming on Saturday afternoon was superb. Thank you, everybody who turned up for that as well. Suddenly, we packed the Gatsby Bar. And it was action, lights, camera, action. Bobby and I skipped in like Morecambe and Wise, and we sat down with Marco. Marco did an amazing job chatting with us. From the Alentejo, we discovered that he was born in the Alentejo in a house without electricity. And it was amazing to see the arc of his life, becoming a film school student in London, directing, producing, working on so many wonderful productions for so many big companies here in Portugal, TV companies, corporations, and so on, and now running the second of his wonderful hotel experiences, culminating in the Gatsby Bar where we were sat. And then he said, let's go and look in the kitchen, and he cooked for us. And that's what you can see here, his sous chef in the kitchen, Sanjay, plating up some porco preto, which we ate. I'll show you. I think I've got another view of that. And he also cooked octopus for us. It was amazing. That was what the weather was like a lot of the time. It was so changeable. Like yesterday morning, for example, when we were supposed to be going for a walk, it was like, should we go? Okay, it's fine. There's a gap in the weather. It's bright and sunny. Oh, it's raining again. Absolute torrent. And that's what it was like a lot of the time. It's beautiful light reflecting off the wet cobbles that had been rained on. Seriously rained on. Very windy. I managed to strip down to the waist on the beach as part of the filming on Saturday afternoon in a break in the weather. The classic, bromance culmination shot with me and Bobby sat on my beach. We were on his beach last time. We were on my beach this time. It was just so great. And thank you, everybody who came along and just created a wonderful a gumper atmosphere in the filming in the bar on Saturday afternoon. We had a lovely brunch on Saturday morning. We were in Samar, weren't we, on Saturday morning? And on Friday night, arrived for drinks, take it easy. Oh, that was Saturday night. That's Evil Kevin. And the Heather Binder there with me and Bobby. And look, there's that plate of pork, Portugal preto in a blackberry sauce, which was absolutely delicious, cooked in front of us. Bobby delighted there that he's found the bar. Don't push the other button there. And this is what I needed to eat yesterday morning to reconstitute myself. You know, the classic Coca-Cola hangover cure, and a Francesina. It finished me, man versus Francesina. The Francesina won, but I had the rest of it for dinner last night. So just a small selection of photographs there. And I think James will have more to say about the wonderful weekend that we had. So a little bit of a highlight for you there. And let's see how everybody is and how they are in the chat. This morning, a groaning. Yeah, I'm a groany this morning rather than a Negroni from last night. Excuse me. A Monday club. Actually, that's the thing. The timing of this week is quite extraordinary. It just looks like I've gone from being somebody who doesn't drink very much to absolute full-time boozer. It's just timing. It's not. I'm not really like that. However, having said that, tonight's wine club is going to be Jerapiga. I think I'm looking forward to that. Albergaria, that's the name of the hotel in whose cocktail bar we were in last night. They're a brand that do a number of booze lines. They've got a ginger, they've got a Jerapiga, as you can see. They do an anise as well. That's like a Pernod flavor. And we will be trying their Jerapiga tonight, which I'd like to say I'm looking forward to in a funny sort of way, but I'm not absolutely feeling it right now, but I'm sure it'll be fine by the time this evening comes. And then that wine event on this 9 wine pairing situation extravaganza with winemaker of the year. I mean, why don't we just call it the Good Drinking Portugal show, for heaven's sakes? This is 9 pairings, 13 at the table. The event's called, with Rui Cunha, winemaker of the year 2022, who's supposed to be an extraordinary fellow. I'm sure he is. And incredible food with Marco again this coming Wednesday. Oh my goodness. Right. Still don't quite know who this was from over the weekend. Anyway, let's go to a lovely comment from Bob that just caught my eye. Yeah, I was so impressed, says Bob, with how Summer handled a sudden crowd. There were 40 or 50 people in there on Friday night. Anna coped with. She said, "I've got a couple of reservations from people from your group. Do you want to book as well?" I said, "Yeah, okay." It turned out about 20 people turned up, and she handled that beautifully as well. She gave me a few Gilda looks, and you'll know what that means if you know the relationship between myself and Gilda. I had a few Gilda looks from Anna and Mrs. M, and Anna Belgia said that they would organise it next time, and I'm quite relieved about that, I've got to say, when it comes to all those bookings. But Bob, equally impressed as I was with Summer. Delicious food served hot and efficiently. We live in the legendary area of the Francesina, North Portugal, but Samar served the best I've had. Very good. Okay, let's go back to the start of the chat this morning. And yeah, help me out if you will here this morning. Bom dia, todos, from James Feliz Segunda. Como foi a vosso fim de semana? Mine was great. It was wonderful to meet so many of you in person and to see the old friends again. And of course, James came with Aviva. She came from Madeira to see us. Isn't that amazing? Lovely to meet you, Aviva. I have never faked sarcasm in my life. Thank you very much. And let's just do you a couple of your visual dad jokes that are lurking like a bad smell here, James. This will lead us nicely, won't it? Segue us into Coach Turner this morning. I'm going to start doing lunges to stay in shape, says James. And the punchline there, that would be a big step backwards. I suspect that says on the screen there. If I can just stop the ticket. Yeah. Oh, a big step forward. For me, I'm lunging backwards, aren't I? If I'm doing not my Russian lunge. What's it called? Anyway, yes, a big step forward, a big step back. That's your lunges anyway, isn't it? Okay, there must be another lunch joke to be had in there. Another visual from James this morning. A favourite of his, recycled, especially for you this morning. Chuckled again 1 year ago and sounds right, about right, he says, and served up again this morning. Had a little mix-up at the store today. Apparently, when the cashier said, "strip down facing me," she was referring to my credit card. Thank you very much, James, for that. Did I promise you a God Squad tip of the day? I did, didn't I? Coach Turner continuing the excellent service for us this morning in that department. Before we get there, the Bon dia Alegria from T-Duck at around 7:59 this morning. Bon dia, James. I had an extraordinary weekend as well. Good to hear that. Deep thought. I saw that. Karma. Karma is when the intents and actions of an individual influence the future of that individual. Okay, was that Kurt Vonnegut again? Or the dictionary? Sounds like it might be a dictionary definition there of the karma, about which people make a lot of fuss, don't they, in spiritual circles? What is it? What is this thing called karma? It's just reaping what we sow, isn't it? Basically, yeah, another way of saying, yeah, is when the intents and actions of an individual influence the future of that individual. There you go. There's the big rim shot of karma for you this morning. Morning, James and Thunder. Welcome to a new week from the coach. I'm a gym ninja. That's why you'll never see me there. Says T-Duck. Great dad jokes as well. I don't want to laugh too loud because I'll disturb myself doing that. We'll star those and come back to them. Bon dia, Gumpers. Had a wonderful meal here in Funchal last night to celebrate Mrs. T's birthday. Oh, how lovely. Parabéns, if I say. Mrs. T, exceptional wine, food and service with a great view of the city and bay. A Vista is the restaurant. So make a note of that to your ever-increasing list of wonderful experiences to have here in Portugal. The Avista restaurant in Funchal in Madeira. Thank you very much. And your God Score tip of the day is a little story. One of the friends we had dinner with is a top masters triathlete and swimming coach, which means veteran, doesn't it, in other circles as well, and perhaps over 50, over 60, not sure, but a triathlete in that class and a swimming coach. Part of her fitness routine is to walk 6 to 7 miles most days. She decided that she needed to add more strength work, so started to do squats from a sitting position. Over 3 weeks, she built up to 3 sets of 20 each day and now finds her walking much easier. That's somebody who was already walking 6 to 7 miles a day. Bit of strength training, finding it easier. That's good to know. Thank you very much for that. So a little change can yield great benefits. We'll look at 4 more simple exercises that can help your all-round strength this week. Thank you for looking after us in that way, Coach Turner, whilst enjoying yourself and having a busy schedule. So, yeah, I hope, I'm sure it sounds like you had a fantastic evening. So birthday love from the Gumpers to Mrs. T, if you wouldn't mind passing that on to her from us. Mr. S is here, flashing the Portuguese. We talked a lot about speaking Portuguese this weekend and different styles. You know, whether you learn like a child and listen for 2 years and then blurt something out like boo-boo and everybody claps, or you go and experience yourself to grammar torture. Some fascinating conversations about that, actually, this weekend. So thank you very much, Mr. S. Eu não estou a compreender nada em inglês. And sinto muito. What's that? Very sorry there. Mas não entendo uma única palavra em português. Miss T. Duckham, look at that. You know you've got somewhere when you're joking around in Portuguese. And T. Duck, I think, explained that he speaks a bit of Spanish as well, that he's able to flash as well from time to time. And he did an amazing job. Thank you so much. I can't find that video. I have got that video of you being spoon-fed in the kitchen. I mean, you had your camera in your hand. Mike, the boom pole, also got fed as well, didn't he? Quite an extraordinary time in that kitchen. It was a very special part of the schedule. Thanks again to Marco for organising that for us, and Sanjay and all the kitchen staff in there. I rediscovered 375 millimeters, 375 millimeters of wine. Would be an interesting experience. Let's put it like that. Portuguese wine bottles. So my head is okay post weekend. So the Pequeno, Garrafa Pequena, for you this weekend, and we will do we'll do the first of your tasters for this weekend, Doug. Let's get that organised now. We'll be talking to James in just a moment. But a 2-minute taster from Dougie. 1 minute 54 there. That's like one of those little bottles of wine, isn't it? I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining, but that's a slimline 2-minute taster at 1 minute 54 there. Thank you very much, Dougie. Let's load that up and play that now. Come to a few more comments and then welcome James, whose theme tune will be played at a slightly lower volume, I think it has to be said, this morning. I wonder how he's feeling this morning. And made it to us via public transport. Oh, no, not entirely on public transport. I had a lovely lift from fellow Gumper as well, who I'm sure he'll name check and mention this morning too. Let's have a little break so I can have another sip of tea with a 2-minute taster. Guess what, everyone? The man on the screen, you can see there, Douglas Hughes. He is back in Portugal, in the Algarve specifically. And I think you say you only had 375 millimeters of wine last night. I think you had a bit more than that. Some of your Facebook comments sounded a little bit boozy last night, Mr. Hughes. Anyway, here's your first of your 2-minute tasters. Back in business, back in Portugal. Let's go. Vamos embora.
Good morning, Portugal, and it's a jolly fine morning right here in the Algarve. Time for one of our 2-minute tasters. Well, it's been one of those days, one of those rainy days on the Algarve. Well, can't be helped. Has to happen sometime, I suppose. I think tomorrow is actually supposed to bring better things for us lowly travellers, weather-wise. At least it stopped raining, because it's rained quite hard. Not that I'm sure that anybody in the Algarve will be too sorry about that, because they've had a particularly dry summer, of course. This is the area leading down towards Villamora Marina. Lots of little cafes and restaurants and things to do around here.
There you go. First of Dougie's 2-minute tasters back in the country. So good to see you back here, Doug. I know it's been quite the journey for you to get yourself fit again and to be back here with a little bit of trepidation previously, but it looks like you're completely back on form and firing on all cylinders. So that's so wonderful to see. Thank you very much, Doug, for the first of your 2-minute tasters, which will be a regular feature in the next few days. And whilst Dougie's here, and he'll join us on screen from time to time as well. So looking forward to squeezing you in, Doug, so to speak. Bon dia, Gumpers. From Suze. Hello, Suze. How are you? And Camilla, please say hi to the whole team, please, Camilla, if you will. Camilla Bonfant, bon dia to you. Old Deagle's weather report from Belfast. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpus from a beautiful Belfast. Even though it's raining, we secure tickets for Springsteen. Is that why it's beautiful this morning? So 2024 Ireland shows, massive Springsteen fans, the McKillen household, and shows in Belfast, Cork, Dublin, and Kilkenny. 4 gigs. For you. That's amazing. I bet you're delighted this morning. And that was a great number plate, wasn't it, on that Triumph Stag? Any Triumph Stag fans here? A beautiful looking stag here in San Martino de Porto. Mrs. M's here. Good morning to you, Mrs. M. And it's going to be interesting. We'll have work to do this at 10 o'clock this morning. It's the first of the Own Your Own, how do I put this? Own Your Own hit show. And where we're gonna work at owning your own stuff. Let's call it stuff on this occasion without the sound effect button. And it's going to be a game where you run the gauntlet of you progress through the game as you continue to own your own stuff, or you get eliminated as soon as you co-opt or blame someone else. It's going to be interesting this morning. The temperature has dropped in many ways in the Munson household after my staying out late last night. And look, it's not many couples who can resolve a bit of frostiness on their own live stream. Stay tuned for 10 o'clock for that perhaps awkward situation. James, can I have you on speed dial for that for around 10 o'clock this morning? James, if he's sensible, will say, I'm not getting involved, mate. I'll see you next week. Right. And let me just find his music to play with you. Let's roll. Let's roll that VT. James Holley, everyone. Not too loud, though.
Bon dia!
you king-size pillow. That's a polite way of putting it.
Take that with you to your show.
Oh, Ow. Good morning.
I'm sorry if I actually caused pain. I just was having some fun.
Yeah, clearly. How are you this morning? Tudo bem? I think I saw you at the weekend.
I think we did, or it was your doppelganger. But yeah, it was a beautiful weekend. I'm really happy I went. I had, as we all do, some mild expectations that were more of a what I guess we'll call it on the negative side, and that's not about the people; it's about the conversation. I was just getting tired of.
Some of those people are a bit odd, though. Let's face it. But that's why we're gumpers.
Yes, but I avoided you, so
mainly, yeah. Until I could see you hiding behind marble pillars and came across.
Yes, but it's more about the conversation. I was just getting tired of my CEF experience, my visa experience. How much luggage I brought. All that stuff,
Yes.
which you
Same
get
awesome.
if you have 40 people who are new in a meetup. Of course, that's going to be the conversation. But if you go to 3 meetups, you've talked with 120 people that had the same conversation 120 times. It just gets old. And I found out, this particular group was mostly people who've been here for a while. So the conversations were broader and more diverse. And for my mind, more, not that the original conversations weren't interesting. They were just essentially the same story, and they were old. It was like an old story. These were diverse and new. So you could hear about someone's adventure hiking somewhere, someone who went to this town and had this experience and shared anecdotes. So it was more like sharing life. Well, that puts down the other experience, but it was just a broader experience of life that was being shared. So there was no real repeated stories, and it just was more interesting. And that surprised me. I wasn't expecting that. So
That's
that was
great. That's great. And also, you've signaled very nicely there, if people do meet you in future, not to talk about that other stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I have a tendency, because I do talk. I don't know if you've noticed that. I seem to talk a lot sometimes.
Once or twice.
And I'm being enthusiastic, and I'm talking with some people in a group of 3 here. And of course, there's someone who's at their very first function of, the Good Morning Portugal event. And I'm talking about how those conversations of everything that they're experiencing right now, were not something I was all that interested in or whatever. And she was great about it. I don't remember her name, but she said something about, I get something about being able to understand that new people could get old or something along that line. But we were making humor about it. And I went, oh, there I go again, talking out loud. In a way that I don't intend to be negative, but I realized, oh, that could have just been her. Like, if you got that experience, just don't even look at me. It's like, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Anyway, it's all good, but I tend to talk too loud in crowds, and there's always a way to offend somebody when you do that. So.
Good work. Well done. And then do you have those moments then when you talk too loud and the whole room goes quiet because they think it's James is kicking off about something? I don't think that happened, did it?
No, not that. And in Portugal in general, any large spaces you can't hear beyond about 6 inches from your face anyway. Everything else is just reverb.
Yeah. That's right. And the Samar is particularly like that, isn't it? There are a lot of
it's all glass and tile.
Hard surfaces. That's right. And
there's not a curtain or a piece of cloth anywhere except maybe on the waiter's waist or something. But yeah.
And you don't want to be talking into that, especially, do you? Well,
no.
It's the sort of evening you're looking for. But yeah, I wonder what would happen if there was a softly furnished, a new range of softly furnished Portuguese cafes, and Portuguese people walk in and say "Olá, bom dia," and they don't hear their own echo.
That's right.
Something odd in here. Yeah, but that's
Why
right.
is it so quiet?
Yes. Yeah, no atmosphere in here. I'm going. And
of course, when you have a large crowd, it doesn't start loud necessarily, unless there's a "Hey, you're here," But it's loud enough that you have to raise your voice to be heard where you are, and then so the room adjusts, and so the volume just keeps going up and up and up and up and up until it's like everybody is shouting.
Well, that's what it was like. Funnily enough, on Friday night it was like that. Saturday afternoon it was like that at the filming. Saturday night it was like that, and to some extent Sunday morning. and it was amazing that people just showed up in the way that they did. So thank you everyone who did do that. And it was like, if there's a new scale, an acoustic scale, there's 11 is the Gumper level, and it just went from sort of 1 or 2 straight up to Gumper 11 with a buzz and atmosphere in these various establishments. And there was a Mario, I think it is the chef de salle, the maitre d' at he looks after the room and makes sure everyone's okay in summer. And at one point he came up to me with a piece of paper and a pen. He said, what is it you do? And I said, "Oh, Good Morning Portugal." And he said, "Is it you? What is it?" And I said, "It's a YouTube and Facebook things." Is it on Facebook? And he just wrote it down and walked away. And I was thinking, there's going to be repercussions here. I wonder what's going to happen.
You're getting a negative review based on how you overcrowded them.
Yeah, that's right. And I was thinking my photo might be on some tilt. Do not serve this man and his 20 or 40 friends when they turn up.
Yeah, don't let him in. He might. 85 people might show up in 5 minutes.
Right? Yeah. Be careful. Oh, and talking of Sama for a moment, thank you, Alison, who sent this picture in that she took yesterday. Look at that, James. That's a meal, isn't it?
That's massive.
Manly meal.
That's about a week's worth of food for me.
I had to do that in 2 settings. That was the reconstituting Francesina man versus Francesina yesterday. It was delicious. It really was good, and Bob was a fan of that as well. Do you recognize this from the weekend? That's not you, is it? At some point, no. That remains.
No, I don't know. And when I saw it, I said, "How far away did Carl wander last night?" Who's
here? I am naked with a peacock on my arm.
That's right.
What happened here? Bon dia todos from Yvonne Gomes. Good morning to you, Yvonne. Lovely to see you here. Muito prazer. I think, or have we met in a different capacity? Forgive me if we have already met, but you look like a newbie to our community here. It's normally James's class monitor function, isn't it, to welcome new people to you could do that live on the screen if you want, James. So
well, you always credit that to me, but yeah. Hola, Yvonne Gomes. But it's like, ooh, how do I pronounce it? Oh, do I say, is that Portuguese? All these things that go through my head. I was doing that in Ireland, and it's like they're speaking English, for goodness sake.
Yeah, what's up with that guy? Oh, he's being an Egypt. He's being an Egypt.
Fucking Egypt. I said,
bon dia.
Oh!
Yes. Sorry. Bon dia to you. And I think you woke up the Squire. Morning, Squire. Blimey, James, I heard you here from the Shires. You're very hearty bon dia this morning. So any other reflections of hanging out with so many noobs and gumpers coming to Portugal, sharing their experiences? And I'm glad to hear that. It wasn't the sort of same old. And obviously, like you say, James, people do need to talk about that sort of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
It is nice to have an added level of texture and experience, which we certainly had, didn't we? Because a lot of people had been here a little while. Like you said, I think that was the key thing, wasn't it?
Almost everyone that I talked to had been around for at least a year, maybe 2 years. And just as another piece, I just want to be clear, I'm not anti that conversation. So, in a room of 40 people, if 2 couples have that experience, it's fine. It's like, I'm interested in your experience. I just don't want to then move through 80 more people who had the exact or very similar experiences and are talking about it anymore. I did initially, it was great, but there's a maturation process that occurs, and for me, I like variety and I like interesting stories. Everyone individually has an interesting story, but when you put them all together, it kind of becomes the same story. It's like, that. Anyway, I said enough. I think the more I say, the more I'm going to offend people. So
well, I think the damage is done basically, because he did seem like such a nice bloke, doesn't he? When you met him, and now
I'm not watching on Monday mornings anymore.
What's he like? The dark side of the slug. That's what you should call yourself that this week. Dark side of the slug.
There you go. I'll have to put out an album.
That would be great, wouldn't it? Like a slug on the cover with a kaleidoscopic prismatic rainbow.
There you go.
Superb. A t-shirt, a merch series. Oh, apparently, Siobhan over at Quinta in Salud de Porto has gone into the print-on-demand business. So I'm hoping to find out more about that. And I'm sure look, there's a bit of merch you've got right there, James.
Thanks for that, by the way.
Well, my pleasure. You reached level 4. It's what
I wasn't even trying.
Yes. Well, how effortless are you then to reach level 4 on GMP VIP? Anyone who contributes over there, as James does from time to time, once you get to level 4 of contribution, you get a mug, and there it is, right in his hand. There's the proof.
And it's not just a mug; it's a message, right? I'm
Yes.
holding in my right hand, so if someone is not being Portuguese, I can bring this up, and it
Just
says "Be Portuguese" about it in my right hand.
Yeah.
But if they're being just fine,
Yeah.
and being Portuguese, and I put it in my right hand, it just says "Good morning, Portugal," and it reminds me to be Portuguese.
Very
about
good.
It, so.
A cup for all seasons and every occasion. But also you can mess with people's minds, can't you? Because they're thinking, hold on a minute, I'm sure that said be Portuguese about it.
There you go. And they will notice you're switching hands. Yes.
Yeah.
That will be a bit of fun. I hadn't thought of that one yet.
Yes. Well, maybe Siobhan can help us with other types of print-on-demand merch. So because we'll have I'm sure we'll have no end of ideas for her. I'm looking forward to finding out more T-shirts. Like last night when I sat in the cocktail bar with Johnny, I was thinking these iconic brands. I'd love a T-shirt with the Bear Owl label on it. That and many others of these iconic Portuguese labels, they would make great T-shirts. I'm not sure what the manufacturers would think. I imagine they would be cool about it if you weren't making millions off their brand and it was just
it's free advertising.
It is, isn't it? I hope they take that view as well. I hope you enjoyed your weekend get together. We really did, Pam, as I'm sure you're ascertaining this morning with us this morning. My life doesn't seem to be allowing me to have weekends at the moment. Well,
I don't even know what a weekend is. So
yeah, maybe that's the approach, is to forget about weekends altogether and just follow your nose to San Martino de Portugal.
I showed up last week on Friday and said Feliz Quinta. It's like, what?
You did.
It's not Thursday. Antonio had to get my calendar straight. He said, it's not Thursday, it's Friday. It's like, of course, in his very humorous way. And I'm like, oh, that's right.
Well, I didn't even notice that you'd done that. So we're all on a similar. Yeah. Pam, we're going to be doing more. It's going to be great to see you when we see you. Okay. Next one is in Coimbra, and that's already looking like a lot of fun, a lot of ideas coming up. Thank you, Ben, for dropping in to this one as well. You were so good in Tamar. You helped us this weekend. It was lovely to see you, and you're going to help us in Coimbra, 9th and 10th of December. Dark Side of the Slug. You see, there's a merch idea that might work. And Catherine, Michael. Catherine, great to see you.
Hola, Catherine. Thank you again for the ride yesterday. That was wonderful. Great conversation.
Well, yeah, I made mention of that, didn't I? You arrived via public transport, and as others did as well. You know, it was possible to get to San Martino by public transport. Not a big problem at all for many people. And then how lovely to get a lift home from the Whitbys there, checking in.
Well, interesting you should say no trouble at all, because that's what I was going to talk about today.
Go on.
It's not negative. It's just an anecdote of a typical Portuguese experience. I have to be careful with these generalizations. I don't like them myself, making generalizations, but it's just somehow is lazy talking. It's just easy to say they.
Yeah.
And then go on.
Yeah.
Let's just say it was not an atypical experience, particularly for someone who doesn't have a sufficient grasp of the language yet to negotiate difficult questions. You know, you can say, how are you? Well, straightforward. Okay. But what time do I take the train to so-and-so, and is there a transfer, and where do I transfer to, and what platform do I have to be on? It just becomes more challenging. So that's sort of the foundation of the anecdote. And I'm referring to it as a practical mindfulness experience. Right. I talk about mindfulness all the time. It's like sometimes like, okay, but what does that mean? And how do you apply that to your life? Well, this anecdote will be an anecdote of application, again and again and again, the constantly noticing, choosing, and acting process.
Yeah.
Before I do that, I just want to really say, because you asked me about the weekend, and one of the experiences that was very unique for me and very enjoyable was actually meeting in person the people that I've come to know, sharing the screen with. Now, you and I had that a while back, so but seeing Bobby and Bob and Viv, and now I'm like, oh my God, I shouldn't have started names because I'll forget somebody. But and the people that are on a Monday morning, I've seen them on the screen. I feel like I kind of know them, but to actually be able to see them and hug them and have a conversation with them was really great. So that was a new thing for me in a meetup situation. I really enjoyed that as well. So thanks to everyone who took the time to show up.
Yes.
So for me, there was a couple things going on. One is that Aviva, who is a friend of mine, she came to Ericeira because she loves it. She even said, if I had come to Ericeira first, I might not have gone to Madeira. I mean, she really loves it that much. So whenever she's flying in the mainland and anywhere near Lisboa, she wants to make a trip to Ericeira. So we have an opportunity to see each other and say, hey, she was on her way essentially back from Spain. So she's been traveling a lot. So a part of me was wanting to make sure that she didn't have to do a lot of work, because this was like my territory, and I know the trains and I know how to do things. So that part of me came up without me noticing. So it's like I need to get it all right, and if I don't, then I'm embarrassed, and all those things that can happen. And I was very proud of the job I did, but there were things along the way, as any experience, that don't go exactly the way you had planned. One of the things we had to work out is transportation Saturday morning to the train station, because the only way we could be to São Martinho de Porto for the brunch would be to catch a 6:40 a.m. train for Madeira.
Yikes.
And there are no buses running at that time of the day, especially on a Saturday, but I don't think ever. Well, maybe work days they are. I'm generally not out trying to catch a bus at that time. But there were, so there's no bus to take me to Madeira. So I said, okay, well, we'll have to work that out. I said, well, we'll get an Uber or a Lyft or, whatever. They've got a number of different services that'll do that. And that was my plan. And I was sharing that plan with Louisa. She said, well, what are you doing? She says, but she's very good. She's the mom.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, how are you going to get to the train station?
Have you got a coat? Have you remembered your coat?
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you have your residency card? Do you have your tickets? I mean, she does that.
Is your mobile fully charged, James?
Yeah, but the rebellious 15-year-old in me that says, for God's sake, leave me alone, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
I'm grown up. I can do this myself. Stop it. That's why I noticed, okay, that energy's triggered. That's old energy. It's been there a long time. And it's like, this is not where Louise is coming from. She's coming from a heart that loves me and wants to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. So, all right. Okay. And now I notice that, I calm down and move on. So there's one example of the mindfulness that's applied. Notice what you're feeling and reacting, and then make a choice about what, if anything, you want to do about that.
Yeah.
And so I was sharing with her what we had planned, and so her mind instantly starts going. Anytime I say there's something I need to do or I'm trying to do, it's like, how can I accommodate that? What are we up to that might make that work easier and smoother for him? So it's a wonderful, wonderful train of thought for her. And she said, well, and she volunteers Sidonia services. Sidonia is the driver of the family. I mean, he's in the car pretty much all day, every day, taking people places. And they all have licenses, but he's the family chauffeur. And he's so good natured about it. But she's saying, well, I think Sidonia has to be in Mafra on Saturday morning.
She's offering him out as your show.
Yeah. So Sidonia could probably take you. What time again? I said, well, we have to be at the train at 6:40. She goes, oh. Well, he could do that. I'm like, no, don't volunteer him. So we had a conversation about it, and it ended up that he stepped up and he said, and I do his hand gestures. I do voices to people I'm familiar with. And there's the Portuguese, my experience is the Portuguese saying of waving the hand, saying, don't worry, don't worry about it. It's okay, yeah. Don't worry. And Sidonia then, because then it's funny, because Sidonia's not in the room. She goes, Sidonio. And he's like, you hear a voice, Hey, what? And I said, and then he'd come downstairs and he said, oh, so she's having this conversation across the house about coordinating this ride on Saturday morning. That alone could be a long story. Bottom line is he said he would do it. And I said, look, part of the conversation was, Aviva and I are looking at paying someone to take us there anyway. And I want to pay you for that. I mean, that's a big gesture, waking up at 5 a.m. to take someone to a train station that you don't even be anywhere near the area for 3 hours after that. So there's not enough time to come home and go back to bed because you've got to go back out in that direction at 9. Right? So his attitude is, okay, well, I guess I'll just be up at 5 and stay up till I'm done in the afternoon. So this is another, it's both a Portuguese experience, I think, and a mindfulness one. I said, no, you have to let me pay for the gas and the time, and it's just too much. And he was very insistent, and I figured out that if I tried to give him the money, he just wouldn't take it.
You have to stick it in his pocket, though, yeah.
He'd say no. It's like, okay. So knowing the relationship, and Louisa is more pragmatic. She's just as generous and kind and loving. But if you say, can I treat you for a coffee? She's like, sure. I mean, there's no hesitation. And most Portuguese, oh, no, let me do it, So she's I don't know if she's more familiar with immigrant ways because she's fluent in English or Americans or just me. I don't know. So I went to Louisa and I said, look, so you heard the conversation, you were there. Sidonia's not going to take the money, and I want to compensate him for his time. He deserves it. And I said, so I'm just going to give you the 40 euros, and you can do with it what you do. And she goes, well, that's fine because I'm the
yes, give it here.
She makes more money than Sidonio, and she's the one who pays the bills and all this stuff. So it's like, don't worry, he'll be taken care of because he's getting all the things I'm buying with the money, whatever. So she worked that out. But so I was able to do my part and make the contribution. But the mindfulness piece is, how far do I push, and when do I just accept the declining of the offer, because I don't want to be rude, and as a new person in the country, not completely familiar with the culture, I don't want to overstep and then offend somebody or embarrass somebody when that's not my intention. So I backed off, thought about it, came up with my plan about giving the money to Louisa. So that's all just about getting to the train station. Well, the most common...
James, that is amazing, isn't it? That somebody would get up and take you at that time.
It's incredible, with totally good nature. He was up before me. He was standing in the kitchen where we go out when we go places together, fully dressed, ready to go. I was 2 or 3 minutes earlier. I was ready earlier, but I said, okay, we said 10 to 6, so I'll get it close to there and I'll be ready. So we leave it, right on time. So he was standing there just waiting for me to come out. He was already fully dressed, ready to go. Not only that, when we went out, the gate was unlocked. The car had been moved so that it was close to the gate. The door that's normally locked that you can't get from the outside because it doesn't work, he had unlocked. So the car was unlocked, ready to go. All we had to do is step in. And so he had done all that before he came back to the kitchen to wait for me. And when I came in the kitchen, it was, oh, bon dia, James. It was like, it was 2 p.m. and we were going to lunch or something.
Oh, lovely.
He's just a very kind, gentle, sweet, and funny guy. And he doesn't speak English near as well as Louisa does. So he and I are kind of in the same boat. He does English much better than I do Portuguese, but there's a lot of hand gestures and a lot of working for words and stepping in with the language that we're using. I love him to death. He's like the best friend brother that I never had. So it's very sweet. It's a great couple. I feel so blessed to have co-created this experience. So then we get to the train station. And Aviva and I are getting out of the car, and we're expecting to say, thank you, Sidonio, so he can go off. It's, 6:30 in the morning. You don't need to hang out there. And he's getting out of the car, and he's opening the trunk, and he knows I know how to open the trunk. And he's pulling Aviva's bag out like he's, an Uber driver or something, except he's doing it because of the relationship. And, thank you. And we're like kind of getting the energy. Well, we'll move on. And he's like, okay. And he's like ready to walk with us. I go, no, you don't have to go to the train station with us. We're good. We just got to go there, wait for the train. You don't have to do that. He said, no, don't worry. It's like, so he just walked along with us into the train station, and we said, well, what do we do here? He's, all right, thanks, Sidonio. We're here, you got us here, we're safe, we're just waiting for the train. He said, no, I'll wait for the train.
Really? It's like a new TV show, isn't it? This week on Extreme Kindness,
yes,
we see people being taken to a railway station.
Yes.
I'm going to get on the train with you and give you a foot massage, I think.
It is just his nature. I mean, if he cares about you, this is what, he may do it for people he doesn't even know too. That's very Portuguese, but in this case, it was very personal.
Yes.
So there was some confusion about the train because a train had pulled up to the platform that was right adjacent to the train station. And so the most common thing I've been saying to Aviva all day is, when I did this the last time, because I've only done it once. So when I did this the last time, well, I've learned in this day, that Saturday, it's irrelevant what you did last time. Just erase it off the blackboard and start writing a new thing, because what happened last time is not what was happening today for whatever reason. Last time the train was on the far platform. I had to walk across the tracks. So is this my train? I don't know. He said, well, at this time in the morning, if there's only one train, it's got to be the one I want. But sure enough, another train pulls up at the platform across.
I find that stressful in Portugal. You don't necessarily know which platform.
There's no sign in smaller train stations.
Yes.
There's no signage. There's no digital signs that say which train it is. You got platform 1, platform 2. So I learned the first time, I learned to say, qual é a linha para cada estranha?
Yes.
Right. So which line or platform do I need to be at? And the first time was 2 Portuguese guys, and they were like, okay, he's speaking Portuguese. What's he going to say? And I finished my question, and they both put their finger up and said, in unison. Said, muito obrigado. Linha and off I went. Well, there was no one there were people to ask, but when I did that, Sidonia just stepped in and had the conversation. And it turned out it was the train at the platform, not the one across. Okay. And then when I got on the train, it's like, oh, that's right. Last time I did this, I had to transfer trains at Caldas, which is only 10 minutes away from São Martinho do Porto. But I had to get off the train, go across the tracks, and get on the new train. And I was able to ask the conductor. It was a proud moment for me the first time. Ask I don't call them conductors, but the guy where the train for
Caldas.
No, I was in Caldas for São Martinho.
Oh, São Martinho, yeah.
And he pointed to it and said, Ali, and I said, so it was very straightforward. Well, this time the train pulls in at the platform adjacent to the station and just sits there. And I don't see another train. And I'm thinking, so is this the same situation before? Did we not have to get off the train to transfer? Should we just have stayed on the train and just going to go through? We didn't know. And there's no signage. There's nothing to inform us. And the guy who had checked our tickets earlier, and I read new learning experience, more mindfulness. If I do this again, ask when he checks your ticket.
Yes.
What you have to do next.
Yeah.
Because he got off the train and left. It was time for his breakfast break or whatever. It's like, so then I asked someone else, a guy with a mop and a bucket, but he had the vest on, and he said, and I'll say, and he was pointing, and he said, I said, go ask them, is basically what he was telling me. So I went inside the station. There was someone who was selling tickets at 6:15 a.m. I said, oh, okay. And they probably speak English, so probably, but there's a couple people in line. I don't know how long this train is going to sit here. And if this is my train, I have to get back on it before it leaves.
Yikes.
So now I'm in that time pressure.
Yeah.
So more of that. What am I noticing? I'm noticing I'm anxious. I'm noticing some fear. I'm noticing my attachment to being there so I can be there on time, knowing the next train probably, well, from college might be sooner. But there was all this unknown. So the insecurity of not knowing. And this is so funny. This is just the universe training me to continue waking up and to continue understanding that everything's going to be okay no matter what. Like worst case scenario, what's going to happen? I'm going to be in Caldas train station and I have to wait for the next train to San Martino. That's the worst thing. But in my mind, it's like, gotta get there, get on the train. So I'm looking at the train, I'm looking at the clock, I'm looking at the line. It's like, calm down, it'll be okay. So that's the notice, choosing, and acting. And what made it fun is as soon as I could do that, I actually saw who was at the window, and they were two scout leaders. I could see they had the kerchiefs on their necks and the socks with the little tussles on them.
A bit of a giveaway in Portugal, yeah.
Yes, and they were purchasing tickets. I said, okay, well, and they were asking questions. But then as I watched for a while, I realized they were buying tickets one at a time with a separate identification for 20 scouts.
That's all you need.
At 6:15, with now 10 minutes to go before I get on the train, these people look like they're going to be there for the next 3 days buying tickets.
Yes.
And there was another guy in front of me.
Chances. James, we need to return back to this story.
Oh yes, look at our time. See, I can tell a story.
No, we will. I need to find out what happens to you. You're waiting to your Caldas trying to get to San Martino de Porto. Two scout leaders turn up buying tickets for 20 cubs or scouts.
Yeah, the guy had the identifications in his hand like this, and it was this thick. There's that many identifications.
You knew. And if it was me, I'd be doing the maths. I was thinking, okay, it took 2 minutes to buy that first kid's ticket with the ID. This is 20 kids. This is going to be 40 minutes. My train is supposed to leave in about 5 minutes.
Yes, that's what it felt like.
We'll find out what happens to James.
Part two.
Part two after we've had
a mindful trip.
Yeah, I mean that's when you really get to test your theories, isn't it? In that sort of situation. So we'll find out what happened to you after we've had a chat with Tig this morning. Let's give her a nice big round of applause.
Morning.
Tig wants to know there as well. Have you ever been in a railway station, Tig, stuck behind 20 scouts?
No, but I remember being in Portimao train station and having no idea which line the train was on because I looked on everything that I could see, and they never put the line on. No. So I did what every good person does, because I went to the person who knows everything, the cleaner.
Yes, although
mine didn't. Mine didn't know.
Normally, I've never known a cleaner that doesn't know everything that's going on in a place. So it was. So I just went to the cleaner, and she went, "That one." I said, "Thank you very much."
He was a young guy. It looked like maybe high school age, and probably if you're working at 6 a.m, it's.
Whatever,
the new guy who doesn't need to know the trains, just mop the floors kind of thing.
But it is a thing, isn't it? As you're saying there, Tig, sometimes it becomes stressful because you don't know which platform to go to. So build that into your travel times, everybody, when you're using public transport here in Portugal.
Yeah, I've never been able to find out, other than actually asking a person physically, which line the train is on in Portugal. Never been able to do it. And that's why whenever I get a ticket, I always ask or whatever. And also, of course, you're supposed to know by osmosis when your station's coming up to get off.
Yeah, I think once you've either got residency or citizenship, something kicks in, and you have a sixth sense that tells you. So it's a marker in this great process we're all embarked on in becoming more and more Portuguese.
I think it's a blend of your experience.
Oh, look at this. Further complications. James, I know that kind of panic. The elevator was broken at Orient Station. I tossed my luggage up the escalator to find us on the wrong platform. Tossed my luggage on the down escalator. Ooh. Plus, I had a dog as well. These are moments that we can all relate to, aren't they?
And sometimes the escalators aren't working.
Yeah, yeah.
Horrible.
Allow extra time. Allow extra time. Tig, how are you this morning?
I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Good,
Just
good,
all the stuff going on. We've had AIMA, haven't we?
Yep.
Seth morphed into AIMA.
It did, and
Over a
the
week
jokes
ago.
have already started. We used to
And
have
still finding its identity.
well, we had syphilis, didn't we? Was the condition people were complaining of before? A bit of a flare up with the syphilis. I was like, so that
Yeah.
joke's gone now. Somebody said over the weekend, I think, ready, fire, AIMA, which is a bit of a dig at the same time, isn't it? You know, that approach to life. You know, not ready, ready, aim, fire, but ready, fire, AIMA, and we'll take aim after we've fired the shots. How is that what's happening at the moment? You know, there are people talking about.
I know there's definitely been hiccups. I'm not sure how and what precisely they are, but people have told me there's been hiccups.
Yeah.
We've got what was the one the cameras, the camera officers. Apparently, the CEF system went down completely, so they couldn't do any EU residences.
Yikes!
Crashed. Yeah,
this not at the airports. This is in processing people who are on crew paperwork.
Yeah, who wanted to no. This was people who wanted new residences who were just going to the camera offices like we used to do to register for an EU residency, and apparently the whole system across the cameras had crashed, so nobody could get residency. But I mean, as far as I know, it's okay now. But I don't know, and I sort of get it through in dribs and drabs what has happened, and but that's I mean, and it's so new, isn't it? We've only got a week, and we've still got the remaining problems from CEF. So and then they're going to morph into AIMA. So I don't know. We'll see.
And you didn't get a call as a notable representative of the, especially for the post Brexit Brits. You didn't get a call saying we recognised you as somebody who is a buffer between us and the public. Why don't you come in and we'll give you a little bit of an update on what's going on here? Why are you laughing? That would be quite good.
I think. I mean. Yeah, I mean, that's always really been the issue. If they would just talk to me or talk to us and, you know, and communicate, it would have made things a lot easier, and I could have been able to explain things better, but it's not really their forte, unfortunately.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I thought I'd ask. But you do have a little bit of an update, don't you, on family reunification? And this, we talked before, didn't we, about the health centre thing? A little bit of information bubbling through the grapevine, perhaps.
Yeah, there's if I just go back, do you remember when we were talking about people that had actually been detained at the Schengen area borders because they hadn't got the right paperwork?
Yeah.
The EU Commission have just published a paper, and because you asked me, you said, well, whose fault was that? And I went, I'm still not sure, but the EU Commission have just published a paper, and they didn't actually say Portugal. They just said the member state who didn't provide the paperwork to the Schengen area borders.
Okay.
So it was.
Why are they? But what, you know, hold on a minute. We haven't sorted the problem out, but we're writing a report about who might be to blame. Why don't they put those resources into figuring the system out instead of writing reports?
They have. It's now in. The documents are now in, as far as I'm aware, and I certainly haven't had any more people detained. So I'm assuming that is the case. But of course, because I raised it. They invested. It's one of the many things they're investigating, and they've laid it firmly at the feet of Portugal. That they just didn't bother sending it to there's 2 books for the documents to go in of what is acceptable documentation for residency for each member state, and they forgot to put in the QR code.
Oh, and whilst they'd updated the individuals concerned, they had updated the Schengen border patrol who would be experiencing this new QR code and not recognise it because they didn't get the memo. The
border guards, it just wasn't in the books that they referred to when they saw somebody from Portugal coming through. The QR code just wasn't there. So
because
they were going
to be fair to them, anyone could just make anything up and say this is the new thing from Portugal.
Exactly. Right. But even the people that were detained, I mean, I was getting talking to people in different countries, and they managed to get the embassies to talk to it made no difference.
Wow. Right.
Because the border guards are a law unto themselves. It's not in our book. therefore it's not.
You can't come in. They're like bouncers at a nightclub, aren't they? Your name's not on the list. You're not coming in.
Yeah, not
Wow.
coming in.
Okay. All
That
right.
was it.
Well, I'm glad that's
So that
been
was
sorted
one.
out.
But going back, to the family reunification. Oh my goodness. I found out, and I did put this around Portugal because I thought it was really, really important. I notified everybody that I knew. People that wanted to apply for family reunification and had done so prior to April, there's a very good chance that their application was never registered, because the actual process on the SEF website wasn't in place until after April. So all this information had nowhere to go.
Oh, okay. Right.
So
What should
you've
people
got all
in
these
that
people
situation do? Yes.
contact me.
Okay. What, just to
Just
make sure
contact me,
they
and
are
if
in the
they've heard nothing,
yeah.
if
And
they've
one of
heard
the
nothing
confusions.
from AIMA or SEF, whichever it is, if they can just contact me, and then I will try and sort out from there whether or not there is actually an application in or not for family reunification.
Oh, that's good to know. That's a wonderful service. Thank you for that, Tig. So that would help people with any sort of insecurity around that. And to be fair to them, it is
yeah,
IMA. It's definitely IMA from the October the 29th. It's definitely IMA site.
It's
Seth is
definitely IMA. Which part of IMA deals with family reunification? I have no idea.
No. Okay, but you can help if people are uncertain about whether they're in the system or not.
Yeah,
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
I'm guessing likely they don't know either.
Yeah,
like which part of us is responsible for that? It's like,
don't know yet.
And for us at this end, I just want to say, so often for me, it's about not knowing whether I need to contact them because they don't know my papers at the bottom of a pile, or it's just taking time, so they don't know what action to take. So it can be very confusing.
Yeah, well, it's hashtag Tig Says Day here on Good Morning Portugal. Tig's told you what to do if you find yourself in that predicament. She can help with that, which is really helpful. So thanks, Tig, on that. And health centres, what was going on there?
Just a caveat to the family reunification, though. If we can I only deal with people, UK nationals, who got residency in Portugal before 2021. Because I only deal with the Brexit issues. So if people are having, because everybody's having problems with family reunification and any sort of contact. So, there's a million foreigners, well, between 750,000 and a million foreigners in Portugal, and I can't deal with that. I can't do that.
Really? Why not? Have you not had 3 shredded wheat or a Snickers bar this morning? But that, to be fair to you, Tig, that's not going to stop people trying, is it? I mean, people are desperate in this situation, so they may well say, you're the woman who talks about helping with reunification. Can you help me? And give us that very specific guideline again, so you don't get people trying to do that.
I only deal with people, with UK nationals, and it is UK nationals who got their withdrawal agreement biometric card. So therefore, they were resident in Portugal prior to 2021, and then it's their family members who are trying to apply to come over.
Great. And do you know much about the criteria for that? For somebody who is in that condition, who managed to...
There are conditions. And I mean, and basically they have to be a dependent.
Okay.
So just because it's your mum, doesn't mean it's going to work. Is she dependent on you?
Yes. All right.
And that I think is a little bit of a rabbit hole people are going down. They just assume because it's a relative, it's okay. No, they have to be dependent.
Again, you can understand it, can't you? You know, if people are thinking, well, I'd like to move away from the UK, I've already got rellies in Portugal, that sounds good. So the emphasis is on dependency. So obviously that's the case with children, and that'll be fairly easy to prove. That kids up to 18 or 21, and if they're in full-time education, I think it's 21, isn't it?
I think it might be with education, but I'm not. This isn't my remit. I sort of don't really know, but I know it's sort of up to 18 on a general basis.
Yeah.
And the thing is that what has also surprised people is that yes, there are checks made.
Right.
AIMA will do checks. They'll do criminal records checks, and they will also check with the country that the people originate from. And
Yeah.
some countries, because they're more, you know, they're a little bit more dodgy than others, you know, that they will do more checks in certain countries, you know, than they will others.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, ones that are known for being a little bit more corrupt or whatever, that with paperwork, then
Yes.
they'll just and those countries do take longer. They do take longer.
Which means more work at this end for the new authority and the people working in it. So bear that in
Absolutely.
mind. But Tick
Yeah.
can help you with that if you are one of those
Yeah.
Brexit WABC people, basically, and you want to reunify with your family. What's been going on for people at health centres, Tick?
I know you keep asking me, but there's still one more thing about the withdrawal agreement biometric.
And another thing. That's me. I'm so familiar with that. Well done.
I promise you, it's next. People are still having problems when they've actually gone through their withdrawal agreement biometric card appointment. Then, as we all know, it takes can take 48 hours or more for the payment part to clear, for you to then pay for it.
I remember.
And it eventually gets to you. There has been so many issues on the SEF AIMA site for for the payment to be actually cleared, for you actually be able to pay. And I've still got, so if people can contact me with that as well, there's still loads of people. I had one yesterday, hasn't been able to pay since her appointment in December last year.
Oh, so these are the sort of people that are in all kinds of migration pickles with Portugal, getting lost in a little cul-de-sac somewhere. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. It's okay.
Yeah,
well,
so
nightmare.
It's still, as you can see, it is still a nightmare. Health centres.
Oh yes,
health centres.
I have an anecdote about a health center too.
Yeah, if anybody
I'll save it.
if anybody has what we were talking about obviously on the last show, was that it was, if anybody, a UK national, has gone to the health centre and they have specifically been told that they're not going to get treatment, or because they're British, or that they're not going to get, they're just continually rebuffed at a health centre or treated poorly. And it is all over Portugal. We've now discovered that is happening simply because people are British. There is definite discrimination there. Again, if people could get in touch with me, but the embassy have said to me that if I can let people know that they must fill in the complaints book, they must. And you don't have to go to the health centre to do it, because that has caused problems as well.
I bet.
At this health centre, they've been refused, which of course is a criminal offence. You cannot refuse the complaints book. And of course, and you can do it on, being able to do it online means you have none of that issue. You have none of that issue at all.
Yes. Okay. So there is a difficulty in this residual or grandfathering process, where if you're getting a sense of entitlement from the British about their rights in health centres, it's because they are entitled to that, aren't they? As part of the end of the agreement.
And it was absolutely, and it was like I explained to you before. You know, if anybody has residency in Portugal, they are entitled to a health service. They are entitled to the state health service. And also, it's like, and I know I said this before, because I've had it sort of, said to me, but we've paid for it. So as in, and you British don't pay. And I said, but we do. Every single person that is retired here in Portugal, they get an S1 form. And that form, then it means the Portuguese government claims back any costs from the UK government of healthcare. And also anybody that's under retirement age, they're working. So they pay into the Portuguese system. So every Brit is actually paying for the health service. So it's and I don't get me wrong, resources in Portugal are really short health-wise, and I get it and I understand it. And it's difficult. It is difficult, but it is the law.
Well said. But they're two separate issues, aren't they? It's not the person looking for health help. It's not their fault that resources are limited. And there is a setup there. This is a precedent, and it is a system in which there is an entitlement from this point of view. And it isn't fair to make I suppose what is a very sort of what would it be, a personal attack, or because that receptionist didn't like the idea of Brexit, to then
Well,
punish.
and in truth, it only takes a small percentage of people ruining your day on either side to have this idea that they're all a pain in the ass.
Yes.
Right. So if you see 100 Brits and 10 of them are just behaving entitled and spoiled and angry and being pissed off at you, and it's like, get away from me, all Brits. I can see that happening with a very small percentage. In addition,
that's not the issue, James. It's not the issue. The issue is that Brits are walking in and being refused treatment because they're Brits.
Yeah,
it's not about any entitlement. I mean, I have got, and I mean, to be perfectly fair, and I mean, I've got Brits who are scared to death of going to their health centre because of the appalling way they're treated. And to be fair, I get it, because my health centre is the same. You walk in there with massive trepidation because receptionists are Rottweilers.
I thought you were talking about the people just trying to get the paperwork done so they can get the service. So these are people who have already qualified, have the proper documentation. It's all in the system, and they're just people saying, no, we won't treat you. Okay, well, that's a different story. Absolutely.
Or people even try to get to register. No, they are just given absolute brick walls.
That seems to be a global medical receptionist thing. My mum was one of those, and I'm sure she was very good at it, at gatekeeping the front line of the surgery. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I understand the other side, but this, I mean, I've got people who've been refused treatment for 2 years. With serious medical issues, can't get prescriptions, can't get treatment. I've got somebody who now is terminally ill because they were refused. It's serious, really serious stuff.
Yeah, sounds like
not get treatment,
and you can help with that, so you can make the right prompts, can you too?
Yeah, I've been. I mean, what I've actually done, I mean, obviously, I've spoken to the UK government and I've spoken to the EU Commission. And it's in all the paperwork. I did. There was a meeting with the EU Commission, one of their committees, a couple of weeks ago, and it was put forward then. I also, last September, I think it was, I made an official complaint to the EU Commission and the EU Parliament on behalf of British in Portugal. And I got a response from them, which was very, very good, saying absolutely, complaints well founded. We're now also going to pass it on to this place and this place for it all to be investigated, as well as us doing it, because you've pointed out so many things. And I also had a response about 5 weeks ago where they'd investigated it, and they asked me for a response back. For me to update and response back, and which I've done, and just highlighting, and putting aside the errors, shall we say, making sure that the errors were rectified.
Thank you, Tig, for doing this on behalf of our fellow country people. And isn't it good as well that understanding Portuguese culture, the complaints process is a non-personal thing ultimately, isn't it? It's like, okay, yes, this is out of order, and we will seek to put it right. It is a kind of the light side of the dark side of complaining here, if you see.
It's not the Facebook attacking approach.
No, it's a legitimate and culturally appropriate process, isn't it, to do that? And you benefited there by the sound of it too.
This was me. This was the complaint that I made.
To
the EU Commission.
Oh, I see. Okay, and they're going to
Parliament.
Not Portugal. Okay. Oh, I'll take.
No, because about the whole process of the fact that the cards hadn't been issued, there's just so many. And one of the other issues that I wanted to mention was, like we said before, about the 5-year cards being issued instead of 10-year cards.
Yes.
Okay. Again, because under the withdrawal agreement, you have an absolute right under that law to be issued with an appropriate 10-year card, and people just aren't getting them.
Oh, true.
It's just, AIMA are not doing it. And it's because they're just swapping like for like, or making a mistake.
You'd think, wouldn't you, if they issued a 10-year card, it would be less work for them in the future. But anyway,
I've no idea why. Yeah, I mean, to me as well, I think, yeah, just issue a 10-year card, then you do with it in 10 years' time. Yeah.
I suspect this is somebody who's been inspired to watch because of you, Tig. Seth was a mess, and now you can't contact them until 2024. I'm not sure if that's entirely true. Is it from your point of view, Tig? At least Tig can. At least the QR codes are finally on the Prado. What does that mean? I don't know what he means.
Keeping in mind 2024 is less than 2 months away. So
True. Well said.
Yeah,
well said.
it's 7 weeks away, isn't it?
What is a Prado?
I can't remember. James and I talk quite often.
Right.
So, James, can you remind us what Prado is, please?
I thought maybe Prada's new spring season for 24 has QR codes on it, but that's not. It's Prado and not Prada.
It's it's. I think that is the list of documents.
Okay.
The list of documents. Prado is the list of documents, I think.
Owen's one of the lucky ones with a 10-year card here. Well done. And congratulations on the new YouTube channel, Owen, that Squire of the Shire has mentioned. Thank you, Tig, for this work. Sorry, I've interrupted you there. You have more to add.
I was one of my friends, she had an expired 5-year card. And I said to her, do you want me to go with you? And she went, yes, please.
Oh, please.
I went into the because it was at the Loge de Ciudad where we had to go. My point was actually in the afternoon, so I went with her in the morning, and they were going to give her another 5-year card, even though it had expired. And I actually sat there and explained the system to them on their own. And I said, there is a drop-down menu, I promise you, where you can actually issue a 10-year card. And she was like, is there? Yeah. Hadn't been trained. And that was the whole issue. They'd just been told like for like, exchange regardless of the date. You can
understand that, can't you? You can understand that, but thank goodness you were there. June also here because you're here, Tig, this morning, telling us about all the wonderful ways in which you can help post-Brexit Brits. I think Doug is pushing it here, though. I don't think you can help with a bad Chinese meal, can you, in the Algarve?
No. Sorry.
Okay. Doug, nice try. Think I went to the wrong one. A few doors down along the marina, 2 others were packed full of happy diners. If you would eat Chinese food in Portugal, and I think he made he was a heretical thought that he didn't. I think he uttered on Facebook yesterday, and it's immortalized there, Doug. Even if you, in my mind, it's immortalized. Even if you delete it now, he said he didn't like Portuguese food. I need to speak to him about that. Prado is the public register of identity and travel.
Thank you, Philomena.
Hola, bon dia, Gria, Philomena, and the Global Nobles are here this morning as well. Good morning. This is Greg. Sounds like Seth is worse than the California DMV. Well, that's really saying something, I think, from what I've heard about the DMVs in the United States. Morning to you, Greg. Lots of love to your household. Tig, we're coming up to 10 o'clock. I think that's everything you wanted to add, from the front line. Anything else? When are we going to have Mr. Sainty on with you? Because I think we haven't spoken to Chris for a long time, and it'd be lovely to talk British ambassador.
I'm not really in control of what the ambassador does. You really need
That's not what I've heard. That's not what I heard.
Oh, nice. No.
Right. Sir, T. James is here. Oh, bring her in.
Yes.
I'll see him in a couple of weeks.
I'd love to see him on the show again. And this applies to all ambassadors for every country of immigrant, foreigner, expat who watches the show. Let's do Bring Your Ambassador Day. So if you could invite your ambassador, I know it's quite difficult with the American ambassador. They're quite aloof, aren't they? But there might be other ambassadors who'd be very delighted to join us here on the show. So
ask him by all means. But I don't think if I do, it'll make much difference because because I don't actually deal with Chris. I don't work with Chris. I mean, he knows who I am, obviously, and
yes, I'm sure.
Chat when we meet. But I don't know. I work more with the people slightly lower than that.
I see. Okay. You can mention my name if you like. See if that helps or not. It might not.
In that case.
I've no idea. No idea.
See how that goes. Right. We've got 3 dad jokes and an anecdote to complete. Can you give us a couple more minutes each of you of your time? I don't think there is a barefoot broadcast after all this morning. James, 20 scouts, 2 scout leaders. You're trying to get on a train to get to San Martino.
I'll do part 2 next week.
You tease us.
There's just too much. So stay tuned.
All right, stay tuned for that. And the tension will have built in a week's time with this.
Yeah, I know people are just on the edge of their seats waiting to hear.
Down James's brow. Aviva wondering what the hell's going on in that ticket office, and there are 20 scouts early in the morning. Right, so let's do these to lighten the mood because we've been talking about migration, mindfulness. I think it's nice to have a little palate cleanser of a few dad jokes. The steps to becoming funny are the tears of a clown.
Clever.
Look at you both.
Bad. That's bad.
All right, let's
I
see if
found
we-
it clever, not particularly funny, but yeah. So
Oh, it's only
absolutely
a
a
joke.
dad joke.
It's only a dad joke, for goodness sake, not a thesis. All right.
It's only good if I do. It's like, oh my, that's a really good dad joke.
Let's try you again. I got a job as a senior director at Old McDonald's Farm. Now I'm the CEO.
That one got me.
gosh,
Yes.
Come on. Tig's not happy about that one.
And you could just do that with EI, right? The agency.
I like jokes that make me roar laughing.
All right, let's try this one then. This is the last one. It's the last chance you can get this morning. Today, I donated to a charity called Blinkertig. They provide.
Well, that's everybody in Portugal, isn't it?
There you go. How about that? And the BMW drivers, especially. All right. Thank you very much, Tig. Thank you, James.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for being tuned in this morning. We'll see you again next month, Tig, and we'll see you, James, next Monday.
Okay.
Next Monday.
Week. Boa
Obrigado.
semana.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.